56 seconds of logos, and also Comcast. Halloween sequel picks up right where it left off.
Or if you guys are together, let me know.
If the call went to voicemail, how are we hearing Cameron's voice on Oscar's phone?
Help! Help!
Dude, this movie began with you on a cell phone trying to call your dead asshole friend from the first movie. Cell phones can be used to dial 911, also known as the help you are stupidly trying to get by yelling it out loud. Going to go ahead and retroactively add a sin for Sheriff Hawkins surviving his attack in the first film. In fact, it's so much bullshit that he did survive, I'm going to retroactively add 10.
He needs to die.
Side effects of neck stabbing include playing the pronoun game. Michael somehow disappears after he A, unlocked a fence, went through it, and locked it back before Hawkins got there, B, went through an already open fence and took the time to lock it after he went through, or C, just scaled that motherfucker and jumped over it. And quite honestly, showing me how Michael did this would have been way more entertaining for me than wondering how he did this.
My mom used to make me go over to his house to play. She felt bad. But he would just spend the whole time staring out of his sister's bedroom window.
I'm just trying to imagine the scenario where you go over to the Myers house and ask, can Michael come out and play? And their answer is, well, no, but you can go up to his sister's room while he stares outside her window. Or wait, did you just play in their front yard alone while Michael stayed inside?
That's what you get when you with the Mulaney's.
I'm sorry, is this supposed to be the origin story of the O'Doyle family from Billy Madison? Or is this an entirely different group of redheaded assholes that yell out their family name to tout their greatness?
You kids see anyone walking around in a white mask?
It's Halloween.
This cop gets the sarcastic answer that he deserves, but even after that, he never tries to give any other descriptors like height, weight, clothing, or anything else that might jog these kids' memories.
All right, take it easy.
Where'd he go?
What do you mean, where'd he go? He's f***ing right there, standing over Lonnie. They would have seen him on their approach, probably no matter which direction they were coming from. It's a matter of about 6 seconds between Lonnie lying down, covering his face, and these two Haddonfield police officers showing up. This guy just forgets to be a cop when he's wandering through the old Myers house, even though he and Hawkins heard a commotion up here just seconds ago.
Tape!
Hawkins hears the struggle and is literally 10 feet away, but it takes him approximately 10 hours, 27 minutes, and 78 seconds to run over to the next room. Why is Michael leaving without killing Hawkins? Does Michael know he needs future Hawkins to add a little more gravitas to his killing spree when he escapes in 40 years? This is the second time Michael Myers has stood outside his house after a tragic death, and it's the second instance in which everyone just stands for an uncomfortable amount of time while a camera they don't know is there tries to build up to the dramatic title reveal. Opening credits for a Halloween film are long as f*** and show an image of a jack-o'-lantern cliche.
All shit happening today. 2 homicides at gas stations.
Stop it. We don't even know if he was on the bus.
Tommy, you're so paranoid.
Lonnie and Marion are acting like Tommy's concerns are silly, but a prison bus wrecked that may or may not have had Michael f***ing Myers on it, and a couple people have turned up dead afterwards. There will be plenty to send Tommy about later, but his friends are just being assholes.
They are friends with that crazy lady that almost got killed by Michael Myers.
And I'm your expositional bartender. When you can't get that exposition to come in any other way, don't hesitate to call. That's 1-800-BAR-SINS.
Lonnie put me up to this shit.
Legacy sequel to a movie that was already a legacy sequel and introducing more legacy characters to the legacy sequel that is a legacy sequel to another legacy sequel.
They had sightings of a ghost-like figure creeping right through our town.
No one will be seated during the Dead Zone tells the story of the original Halloween scene.
And we have Miss Marion Chambers. She survived an assault.
Some of you may remember she died in Halloween H2O, but history is written by the victors. Yes, it's rather tragic that the firefighters are going to do their job and put out the fire, but if Michael Myers hasn't burned to death by now, that fire was never going to work anyway. Wait a f***ing second. Are you telling me there was a little security door leading to a tiny room and Michael was just chilling inside it this whole time? Does anybody remember the last movie? Laurie built her house specifically for killing Michael. She built this basement to trap his ass and burn him. So you're telling me that in the construction of this kill basement, she left a glaring weakness like this in the kill basement? Holy shit, guys, it's happening. I'm finally getting a reason to use the saw. Oh, man. Bringing a water hose to a Michael Myers fight. These guys are incredible at fighting fires, but terrible at fighting Myers. Oh, great. Going to get another Halloween sequel that makes the mistake of sticking Jamie Lee Curtis in a hospital bed for the majority of the film.
Lori.
And if 2 former babysat brats, a nurse, and a rando child bully that had 2 scenes in the 1978 original film weren't enough for you, former Haddonfield Sheriff Lee Brackett is now on the premises to make sure all of your legacy sequel character quota is met. Movie will become an episode of ER for the next couple minutes, and not an exciting episode. Just a bunch of doctors having a muffled conversation so the movie can have a bunch of random and grotesque shots of surgery.
This Laurie Stroh's house on fire.
From upstairs, it looks like they put it out.
So I guess Michael stayed behind to put the fire out after he killed the firefighters? Also, how is this couple anywhere near Laurie to see her house? The first movie took great pains to show how far out in the sticks Laurie lived, and there didn't appear to be another house around for miles.
Cheap piece of shit.
And the drone could very well be a cheap piece of shit, but that's not why it crashed into the wall. It crashed into the wall, Sandra, because you steered it into the wall. Let's put the blame where the blame lies, Sandra. I'm not entirely sure why Michael felt the need to hide out in the bathroom after icing an entire battalion of firefighters. But then again, maybe he needed privacy to masturbate. Or he needed to mix up that medicine using drywall and mirror shards from Predator 2. I really don't know. Even for a door in a horror film has a bunch of ridiculous locks on it cliche, this particular door is a little out of hand. It has a chain and a deadbolt on this door? Michael's kind of a killing genius, isn't he? I mean, this poor lady has no chance at killing him, and he can probably find knives in this kitchen if he looks in the usual places, but no. He looks at a fluorescent bulb and says, you know what? I can break that, and that will become a stabbing weapon. Mike sticks multiple knives in this guy, and I guess he's trying to get a submission into the Museum of Modern Art or something. Since when is this guy into arts and crafts? I mean, in Halloween 2, he was more of an art critic, but Halloween 2 doesn't count in this series anyway.
I think I'll break off with my girlfriend.
Haddonfield Halloween talent show has to be the only talent show where the audience members are relieved when there is some murder news, because then they no longer have to willingly submit to whatever this is.
I've been having a boy about 50 years.
Well, he has time for this.
Fugitive is on foot. His name is Michael Myers. Go get him.
Larry, that's a good attempt at the Tommy Lee Jones speech from The Fugitive, but you forgot all the stuff about the average foot speed and searching outhouses and hen houses. Let's take it from the top.
2 patients at the local Smiths Grove State Hospital unaccounted for after yesterday's transport bus escape.
The movie makes sure to rack focus this shit so that it blurs out the human Michael Myers on TV. And, like, I get it, but it makes us think that seeing the back of Tommy Doyle's fucking head is the most important thing to see in this shot.
Authorities have not confirmed a connection between those 2 events.
Yeah, but how has the media not made a connection yet? Did you not just show Michael on the screen a second ago? The story of Michael Myers being transferred from Smiths Grove should have been huge news, considering right after this, the reporter reminds people of the stuff that happened on Halloween night in 1978. Also, it's kind of weird that none of these legacy characters knew about Michael getting released from Smiths Grove. Seems like they would have known about this extraordinary circumstance of Michael getting transferred after 40 years, but apparently they didn't.
That's Julian. That's a little asshole kid from across the street.
Halloween Kills takes the character of Julian, one of the only interesting characters from the previous film, and turns him into that little asshole kid from across the street. And yes, I am happy as a clam to see guy who didn't realize his stethoscope was in his pants from the last film get promoted all the way to supporting character with a name in this film because he's Marcus, and we like Marcus fine, but he's no Julian. You're no Julian, Marcus. Do you hear me?
I forgot my stethoscope.
It's too bad Marcus doesn't make it to Halloween Ends. Could have had a trilogy of him forgetting his stethoscope. The non-Michael Myers patient who escaped just happens to show up to this bar where survivors from the first Halloween just happen to be so that the mistaken identity shenanigans can begin.
Tommy, what are you doing?
Clearly he's going behind Brian's bar and grabbing Brian's bat, while neither asking for or receiving Brian's consent. Tommy.
Love lives today.
But evil dies tonight.
You had that one queued up and ready to go all night, didn't you, Marion? What if Tommy had never set you up with the Love Lives Today opener? Anthony Michael Hall in The Breakfast Club. Person who just wrecked their car has made an impossibly quick exit when people run to investigate it cliche. Oh, JFK's about to die.
We'll rip his mask off, look him in the eye, swing on Huckleberry here. Say night-night.
Tommy was just waiting for that one moment where his face basked in the glow of red brake light would give him the perfect visual cue to delivering these words he had been longing to say since Halloween night 40 years ago.
She's still alive. Call 911.
This is all a prank by 3 kids so that they can steal these guys' candy. But it would have been awesome if, while this girl was setting the trap, Michael Myers had come by and killed her friend lying on the sidewalk. Then this wouldn't be such a monumental waste of f***ing time.
We're not even scared.
Kids. Do hospitals usually allow visitors to walk around in blood-drenched clothing in the hallways? Wouldn't they tell Allison to get a fresh set of clothes or something? This isn't sanitary, right? Apparently Michael's doctor's place of death was in Turkey?
What?
Allison, are you okay?
How did Cameron know that was her from all the way out there? Did someone tell him that Allison and her family were at the hospital? Also, why is Cameron even here? He called his dad to come pick him up at the park near his school, which is exactly why his dad left the bar earlier. Did he need him to come out just so his dad could take him to the hospital for whatever dumbass reason? Previously on the first Halloween.
How about this sassy tackle?
Checking your gun inventory while in a hospital parking lot.
You have a permit for all these?
Ha! Movie expects us to believe that Tommy says sinister shit in the bask of red tail light glow Doyle would be concerned about whether or not Lonnie's guns were legally procured.
Close friends of ours, and we just want to help out. I'm a doctor, my husband's a nurse.
Being a part of the medical profession is great. On a night where all these people are getting hurt or killed, you should maybe work at the hospital instead.
Michael Myers has haunted this town for 40 years.
Not really, though. I think we talked about this in the last Halloween, but if you remove all the other Halloweens after it, then you just have a night where a dude killed a couple babysitters and their boyfriends. Since there haven't been any Myers sightings for 40 years, this haunting nonsense is kind of bullshit, isn't it?
I need some good people.
People aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Everybody else needs to go home.
There were this many people who responded to Tommy Doyle when he said he needed people who weren't afraid to get their hands dirty at a f***ing gas station, which is surprisingly hopping on Halloween night after all the murder news.
Now listen, boys, there's strength in numbers.
But don't tell that to the 11 firefighters who just got their asses destroyed. They're unavailable for comment.
Careful, Lindsay.
Lindsay, I wouldn't go.
Lindsay.
You gonna kill me? Satan, not today.
These kids haven't died yet.
And like, there's a creepy man in a white mask, and he keeps like trying to play hide and seek with us.
Wow, so Lindsay's wrecking crew just happened to stop in the one place where Michael Myers just happens to be at this very moment. Depending on what the movie wants you to think in any given moment, Haddonfield is either a small town where everything is really close to each other, or it's large enough to have its own news station.
It's Michael!
Marion not only gets attacked by Michael for a second time in this timeline, but also both times are when she's in a car. Those are the kind of stats that scream, find a nice house in a nice part of town where all the necessities are within walking distance and never even f***ing look at a car again. Michael grabs Marion's hair, and as he thrusts her head towards the door, a sudden other hand shows up that is definitely not Michael's. And it's not her hand because she's not wearing these cuffs. And it's definitely not the nurse or the doctor's hands.
Hey, Michael! This is for Dr. Loomis.
But Michael didn't kill Dr. Loomis. And what's with all this one for Dr. Loomis bullshit anyway? This timeline's Dr. Loomis didn't have to deal with Michael escaping all those times and leaving so many trails of dead bodies because Loomis only had to deal with one Michael Myers escape. This idea that Dr. Loomis was still all tortured and shit, along with no one in the medical field believing him, doesn't even make sense anymore. To be fair, the exact same thing that's going to happen to Marion would have happened even if the gun had fired. Even Michael is tired of this running gag with a stethoscope. Is it just me, or did these characters deserve better? If you're going to get people who were day players in the first movie and call them back to have bigger roles in the sequel, don't they deserve not to die like chumps? Having yet another version of this fucking head tilt in every one of these movies. It was super effective the first time, and it becomes less effective every time you pay homage to it. We're over the head tilt, people. Took Lindsay a long time to get over here with this bag of bricks. Seems like she could have been over here before he killed all 3 people in the car. At the very least, that should have been the goal.
God, they just leave your bloody shirt just sitting here?
Listen here, Karen. I've already talked about how this hospital let your daughter walk around with a bloody shirt a minute ago. I've already sinned the safety standards of this hospital, so stop trying to steal my thunder.
We burned him to the goddamn ground.
Why are you so sure? At the beginning of the movie, you were certain the firefighters were gonna f*** all that up.
Lindsay's car. It's covered in blood. There's no bodies. It's Michael. He's here.
Clearly he was here, but you would have no way of knowing he was still there, Tommy. Your heart is in the right place, but I question your leadership skills.
Come on, I need you guys. Come on.
Maybe you need Lonnie if he's dumb enough to stay out here, but I don't understand putting Lonnie's son or Lori's granddaughter in harm's way. We're supposed to like Tommy and Lonnie, right? So let me get this straight. After killing Marion, Marcus, and Vanessa, Lindsay attacked Michael and then ran away into the woods where he tried to track her down. He obviously didn't find her, so Michael then decided to go back to the murder scene and arrange Marcus and Vanessa horror movie style on this merry-go-round. Fucking why?
Do you remember that night at the bar?
I guess yeah, but I knew you were sweet friend. Ben Tramer.
Since Lori was in high school when she liked Ben Tramer, I'm uncomfortable hearing about this cop kissing her in a bar around that time. Sure, she could have carried a torch for Ben Tramer for a long time after the first Halloween, but this is the kind of reference that immediately smells of bullshit, where you introduce some new character who's in love with a legacy character and then try to shoehorn a reference to the old movie at the same time, and it just doesn't add up.
You know, when we were kids, we used to all dare each other to sneak into the old Myers house.
Why is more time being spent on reminiscing and not enough time being spent on getting Lindsay to the goddamn hospital?
The boogeyman is at large. He's got no choice but to emerge.
I would like to send the idea that anyone would listen to a guy raving about boogeymen and this is our night, but then I live in America, so... Also, I might have missed the part where Tommy Doyle was elected Representative Kickass in the Haddonfield election. This guy starts speechifying in front of all the cops in this hospital as if he's got some grand authority in this town. And why? Because he survived Michael Myers when he was a kid 40 years ago?
We had him. How did he escape?
I don't know. Maybe this is the time you think about how you constructed a room in your basement where Michael could hide behind a metal door while the fire raged.
What do? We don't have the police support.
We fight. We always fight.
Yeah, you know we fight. Like all the other times Michael ever appeared before tonight. Like in Halloween's 2 through 6 and H2O and the Rob Zombie versions. And even that one with Busta Rhymes in it. You know, if those were canon anymore. I don't even know why I brought them up. Anyway, who wants to fight? I want to fight.
There's a system.
Well, the system failed.
To be fair, the last part of the previous film and the entirety of this movie have taken place over maybe a couple hours real time. And while the system probably will fail you, because it's a horror movie, I don't really think the system has ever been given enough time to fail. Oh, so they just kept that painkiller out in the open for anyone to grab and use whenever they wanted. Cool. It's not like there's an opioid crisis or anything.
You and Allison should not have to keep running because of the darkness that I created, honey.
Whoa, Lori. Someone thinks a little too much of themselves, don't they? You created this darkness. How do you figure? I mean, yeah, you royally f***ed up your Michael Myers kill house, but that's hardly creating darkness. I thought Allison might have wiped this knife off when she gave it to her grandmother, but no, she kept it properly bloodstained, watching a John Cassavetes film on Halloween night.
I'll handle it.
The truly incredible thing in this movie is how Michael Myers is on the loose and no one's told the people who own this old house about it at all. Not even Anthony Michael Brawl has come by here to warn those guys.
Well, now they're at the front door.
Michael apparently knocked on the back door and then ran around the house to the front door, only to come back around to the back door when Little John leaves it open, and I can't imagine a shot or series of shots I would have liked to have seen more in this movie. This is a shot of Little John standing in front of the stairs. In a moment, we're going to find out that Michael went up them, and somehow Little John didn't hear that shit.
Next time I'm coming with a pitchfork.
Or there's a 50% chance that I'm letting you in on the fact that this is a working pitchfork. It's really anyone's guess on who that admission will end up benefiting. Why did Michael knock the trash can over, and how come neither of the Johns heard it?
I got this knife.
Or, and bear with me here, you could just run out of the house and call the cops. You don't have the same disadvantage everyone else has had in these movies. Michael is upstairs. He spared your lives. You can leave. Yeah, sure, lock the door now that you know someone left a giant bloody handprint in your house.
Is that him?
No, of course it isn't, but all these assholes will think the other escaped inmate is Michael for way too long of a period of time. And let's not even get into the massive convenience of the inmate showing up at this very moment when there are more than enough people to form a hellbent mob. I keep thinking about that stupid news broadcast earlier that showed what the two escaped patients look like, but didn't put out their names or anything. These people would know this isn't Michael Myers. Honestly, they should know this guy isn't him anyway, since Michael is super tall and even after 40 years wouldn't look like this. Stories of Michael's stature would be well known. It's also pretty incredible that over the years, regular photographs of Michael Myers weren't available, considering the public interest in his story. I mean, he's walking pretty slowly. Probably could try and run. Or he's just going to stand there and scream, I guess. Good call. Let me know how that turns out for you. Of all the people running through this hallway, Lori picks the doctor, who might have actually needed to check on a patient and wasn't looking for vigilante justice. Do morgues have open windows so anybody can see the daily selection of corpses on view?
Hospital staff sightings on the second floor.
Why are you relaying this info to Karen instead of getting up to the second floor and handling it yourself?
Michael's masterpiece. He created this chaos, but I'm the one that brought it all onto Haddonfield.
Yes, I'm sure Michael had the foresight of the stupidity of mass mob culture and made sure to time out his escape and killing spree to match up with the timeline of this knowledge.
I saw the look in Loomis's eyes.
Yes, they did a pretty great job with all the prosthetics, but you can never make the eyes look just right. In this story, Officer Hawkins, the rookie cop, is the only one who tries to stop Loomis from killing Michael. All the other cops just stand around, and I guess they were okay with Hawkins doing this? Actually, they seem pretty indifferent to whatever happens. They seem really more like wallpaper for this scene. Who knows what these cops want? I really can't blame the filmmakers for trying to do something different, but I think the previous movie needed to set up Haddonfield's fears of Michael Myers more than just Laurie's families. It needed more build-up to this evening. For 40 years, this has been a sleepy town where nothing happens, and now suddenly it's a powder keg.
Now he's turning us into monsters.
The movie presents its thesis like a teacher's pet strolling in the classroom with a laminated report, a fruit basket, and several of Eddie Haskell's all-time kiss-ass lines.
He's going home. He went from Laurie's compound to victims in her neighborhood to the park. Okay, if you track those locations, it's a straight line.
Guess I'll take your word for it, even though that sounds like a dubious set of data points to create a straight line. Anyway, my question is, why hasn't anyone thought about Michael's house sooner? Motherfucker went to the old house in the original film too, and came back to it the same night, according to this movie's flashbacks.
I came face to face with this asshole when I was a kid. He creeps, he kills, he goes home.
You came face to face with him briefly and he disappeared. He didn't do any of the other things you just mentioned in that one moment, so I don't know how that makes you an expert.
Now I'm going in alone.
I totally understand the instinct to protect the kids here, but I don't understand the I'm going to go in alone mentality. Do people hear what happened in these news stories? Michael killed an entire group of firefighters. Sam Loomis shot the guy 6 times back in 1978. What skills do these people possess that make them think they can take on someone like that by themselves? Knocking on the door to see if a killer is home. I just realized this is the second Halloween sequel that has forced a woman to partner up with her slimy, cheating boyfriend to face Michael Myers. That's a weird trope to come back to, but you do you, Halloween Kills. This movie has around 13 minutes left, and it feels like at least 11 of them are spent on Allison and Cameron staring at this door. Either Michael put a decoy pumpkin in the closet, or the Johns did that for their own up reason. Either way, there's a bullshit pumpkin in a bullshit closet, creating a bullshit fake scare, and it's just all the bullshit. Once again, a character gets distracted and stops being alert while they're wandering around the fucking Myers house. Unfortunately for Allison, these murders weren't related to Michael Myers at all, and the police found her fingerprints on the knife, and she got 30 to life for killing these guys. How the f did Michael get the body up there and position it in such a way to create this diversion? Even if the ladder was already extended to the ground, Michael would have had to kill Lonnie, drape him across the ladder, then push that ladder with his body on it and somehow keep it stuck there while folding the ladder and closing the attic door. Feels like a bit of a waste taking the time to pull that knife out of yourself and then just tossing it aside. Cameron survives this longer than he should. What the f? Did Allison call her mom at some point during this to tell her where she was going to be? And later we find out Karen brought the mob with her, so if Allison did tell her what was going on, why didn't she tell Lonnie before he got murdered and stuffed in the attic? One question, why pull the rake out? And another question, why not stab him again? I mean, this is one of the worst won't be needing this anymore sins I've ever witnessed. Even if you're eventually luring him to a mob later, why proceed with a stomp down instead of more stabbing?
Want your mask? Come and get it!
His association with the mask makes him more evil bullshit conjured up by the podcasters in the previous film reeks its way into this installment as well. Karen is luring Michael one street over, where the posse has assembled to take Michael down once and for all. But this plan required the exact scenario presented by the movie to work. It required Allison to fall down the stairs and for Karen to be outside the front door when Michael tried to kill Allison again. Also, this is a fucking stupid plan that relies on Karen being able to outrun a seasoned serial killer that very well could have some supernatural energy surging through him for a few blocks. Why wouldn't they have everyone on the street where the Myers house is ready to ambush Michael?
Gotcha.
Is this supposed to arouse my applause, boner? You said gotcha in the last movie and you saw how that turned out. Maybe you should stop with the premature celebration until a doctor confirms a flatline. Also, after the bloodthirsty mob killed that innocent guy that Karen felt bad about, who exactly did she trust to tag along on this mob killing? How did they round this group up in time?
Hey, Michael, it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare.
The former Sheriff Brackett wastes his 1978 callback to a character he never spoke this line to. In the original Halloween, Lee said this line to Laurie. This asshole brought a hockey stick, and this guy a board, and this woman brought an iron. She brought a fucking iron, ladies and gentlemen. Why does everyone in the movie get to see what Michael looks like, but we don't? Also, the mob gives Michael time to put his mask back on for... I have no fucking clue why they did that. Attack him!
I always thought Michael Myers was flesh and blood, just like you and me. You can't defeat it with brute force.
And I'd call my daughter to tell her my hypothesis while Haddonfield tries to kill Michael, but nah. As we watch Michael murder everyone because he's an indestructible killing machine, I'm wondering why the mob has gone with the one-on-one approach rather than gang tackling him to the ground and maybe putting some handcuffs on him. If a woman brought an iron, someone brought handcuffs. Hell, the dead cop has some handcuffs, right? Also, maybe the cops got their feelings hurt when Tommy told them off earlier, but I still can't believe the goddamn cops haven't shown up yet. I mean, paramedics are at the Myers house. Someone called 911. We see cops there. They just let the mob justice run its course. Karen is allowed to walk around alone in a house that is currently a crime scene. Also, is there any actual reason for Karen to walk up these steps and enter Michael's bedroom other than for him to magically show up and kill her at the end of this movie? What's she so goddamn curious about? The window Michael used to look out? Who gives a shit? Movie kills Judy Greer, even though she's awesome. And while I don't know for a fact yet that she survives this, even suggesting that she might not be in the third movie is some bullshit. Also, Michael killed the entire mob and made it back to his house unseen and upstairs to kill Karen.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, well now they can call me Batman.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night.
Hawkins and I'll track Market Street up to Lampkin.
I'm going to Lampkin.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Don't you know whose house this was? You have any idea who you're stealing from? You and your friends are dead.
I got this knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
We're not that drunk. We're not that drunk. We're not that drunk.